Hi everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk and this is what I'm making today. And thank you very much for joining me. So as I'm filming this, it's the end of August and I'm making a Christmas card. Stay with me, I'll show you what I did. My original plan for this piece of card was that I was going to use it in a scene changing card. So you know the kind of thing where there's an aperture in the card and you turn the wheel and different scenes appear in the aperture. And I may yet complete that project, but for this particular one, when I finished it, I thought, you know what, I don't really like it for that because there's not enough variation in the, in the different segments of the wheel. But I'm not going to waste all that work I did because I can still use this bit and this and I can possibly use bits of the remainder of it as well. So I've got all of my colours ready. I've got Pineapple Punch, Night of Navy, Granny Apple Green, Balmy Blue, Pacific Point, Gorgeous Grape and Blueberry Bushel. I don't know whether I'm going to use all of these, but I'm going to have them around just in case. And I know I'm definitely going to start with the Pineapple Punch. I have a sponge and I have my blending mat. So I'm going to pick up some of the Pineapple Punch on my very high-tech sponge here. I'm going to start off on my blending mat. If you haven't got one of these, a piece of scrap paper will do just fine. And as you can see, I have masked off my circle using post-it notes. So I've masked, I'm just working on 1/4 of it, and I'm just drawing my sponge straight down. And I'm just going to draw around it in pencil. And I'm just going to cut that bit out. And I'm going to add a little bit of more interest to the Aurora Borealis at the back of the card. I've got my, what is this, Frost White all-purpose ink. I'm going to give it a jolly good shake to make sure that it's all mixed up. I haven't used this for a while. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of it, not very much at all, onto my craft mat. That'll do. And I'm going to mix in a little bit of water to make it runny. And I've got it on my brush. I'm just going to tap. And hopefully, ooh, something will happen. A bit more than I actually wanted, story of my life. But you know what? It is what it is. We're going to live with it. I've gone ahead and done some die cutting with my snow globe scenes dies. Now the reason why I've done it all off camera is A, it saves time, but B, it's very, very warm here in the UK today, and just to keep comfortable, I have to have every single fan that I possess running full blast. And if I do that when I'm filming, you will not be able to hear me speak above the noise of the fans. So I've done all of my die cutting ahead of time. So I've used these dies from the snow globe scenes, I believe I said that. And I've also used the Curls and Swirls embossing folder. So I've cut the trees out of a piece of the glimmer paper, the base of the snow globe in silver foil, the top of the snow globe, the fancy bit that goes on top, in gold foil. I've cut out the aperture for the snow globe out of Blackberry Bliss card, and I've also embossed the Blackberry Bliss card with the Curls and Swirls embossing folder. Okay, and this is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches, so it's just 1/4 of an inch smaller all around than my card base. Right, so I'm now going to bring in my craft mat, because I'm going to do some inking and I want to keep my work surface nice and clean. Right, so I've got Delicata ink in silvery shimmer and in golden glitz, and I've got a couple of sponge daubers, and I'm going to start with these two pieces because they're going to need longest to dry up. Now this is a pigment ink, which means that it takes longer to dry up than a dye-based ink, which is what most of Stampin' Up's inks are. And I'm just laying the colour around the edge and just on top. Okay, and I'm not sure how well that's showing. And perhaps if I dab, give it a little bit. Yeah. So I don't want to cover the whole thing. I just want to give it a highlight here and there. And on this piece, I'm going to do the same thing, but with the silver. Now this does take a while to dry, and if you're in a hurry, you might want to miss this bit out, because you know, it's not essential at all, but I just think it just gives it a little je ne sais quoi, a little something. And in case you're wondering, the sitting with the feet in the bowl of cold water is definitely working to keep me cool. Right, so again, I'm just going to dab over the top very, very lightly, and start with the silver. I'm going to go in both directions, or all directions, and just kind of dry brushing over the top, because this is me and I just can't resist putting ink on things. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the silver because I don't want to completely kill it, and I'm going to add some of the gold as well. And look how that is going to make it pop. I have one of my my makeup brushes, and I'm just got a bit of Gorgeous Grape, and I'm just touching around the edges of these trees, just to make them stand out a little bit more. And I'm using a brush rather than a sponge because the diamond glimmer paper is quite rough on a sponge. I'm liking that. I'm thinking that's pretty. Oh, somebody's got a motorcycle. How nice. Right, so I think this has had enough time for the ink to set a bit. It's still a bit damp, I've got to be absolutely honest. I think you're probably best off, if you want to do this, do it the night before and let it set. But as long as I don't go rubbing me the great maulers all over it, we should be all right. So just adding a little bit of liquid adhesive in spots. I'm actually going to push that bit out because that shouldn't be there. It's one that got left behind. And I'm just going to, oops, not throw it on the table. I'm just going to pat it on the back of my hand to take off any of the excess bits. And let's come in so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to pop that down. Put the top back on my ink. Wipe off the back of my hand. And put that on one side for the adhesive to set. And yeah, sorry about the flare, but that is rather pretty, or at least I think so anyway. Okay, so my card front is plain Whisper White, just an ordinary piece of Whisper White card, 11.5 inches, scored and folded at 5 3/4 and 4 inches that way. But it's actually a little bit plainer than I want it to be. So I'm going to bring back my Delicata inks. I put a piece of scrap between the front and the back of the card. And I'm just going to just colour the edges. So I'm going to start with the gold. And just drag it in. And okay, yes, this isn't the simplest, the quickest project that you've ever done in your life, but do you know what? You know me. Quick and simple, and I, not really friends. You know. So, but what I'd like to think is that you would maybe take some of the techniques that you liked and use those, and then not do the things that actually you weren't that fussy about. Okay. Let me put that back on the top. And that now, let's take that away so you get the full effect. And I am happier with that. I like that kind of hammered effect. Good. So I'm going to start putting things together. I've got some dimensionals here, which I'm going to put onto the back of the trees. So I've got some full-size dimensionals. I think I might need a mini dimensional or two for this little tree over here. And I'm going to have some mini ones. See, now that's just the top of the dimensional. I want the whole thing. Thank you. Dimensionals are winding me up now. Okay. I'm going to have some small ones over here because why on earth not? No. Why the devil not? So let's take off the backing. See, that dimension wants to stick to my thumb. I'm sorry, but you can't. You're not allowed. And I'm going to pop this just onto my aurora. And yeah, I think I've got a bit more frost white paint than I wanted, but do you know what? I'm going to own it. I'm going to live with it. This is the way it is. Okay, so I'm just going to line that up in the aperture, and going to apply liquid adhesive around the outside of it and all over it. And I'm going to try and keep it all together and line this up onto the card where I want it to be when the thing is finished, which is around about there or so. Right, we are getting there. We're nearly done. At least we're nearly done with the snow globe part of it. So I have one of the snow globe domes, and these have adhesive on both sides. Okay, so I'm taking the adhesive off the top part, and I'm just going to line up my piece of card, my aperture, and just press that down. And now that is jolly good and stuck. Alright, that's not going anywhere. That's going to sit there. I've got something on my snow globe, or in my snow globe, so I'm just going to give that a quick wipe, excuse me. Then that is going to sit on there, thus and so. Yeah. So I'm going to put liquid adhesive all across the back here. Now, I did think about whether or not I was going to put any like shaker elements into this card, because that is the whole idea. That is why you have the adhesive on both sides. So I'm not going to. Because actually, see what else I'm going to do. I'm going to put liquid adhesive around here, because that will give me a little bit of wiggle time if I don't have my globe in the right place. So what was I saying? Well, I decided not to, because I think in this case it would probably be more trouble than it was worth getting stuck to the sparkly trees. Okay, but if I wanted to put glitter in there, and glitter, if you're making a shaker card, glitter is an absolute nightmare. It gets out, it gets everywhere. If I wanted to put glitter in there, I could do it with perfect confidence that it wasn't going to go anywhere, because that adhesive is very, very good indeed. It is, you know, even watertight. Okay, so let's bring back the base of the snow globe, and because the globe itself is raised up, I'm going to use plenty of dimensionals. The card is already going to be dimensional because of the globe, so adding a few more bits of 3D-ness to the card isn't going to hurt it any, you know. if you're going to be paying extra postage, you're already going to be paying extra postage. Right, okay. Get my big sausage fingers out of the way, if I can. And that just butts up very nicely against the edge of the globe. And press that down, and will you look at that? I'm taking this sentiment, Season's Greetings, from the So Many Stars stamps. Now they're photopolymer stamps, so I've got my stamper after set up with my foam mat at the ready. I've got a scrap of Blackberry Bliss, Versamark ink, and I did coat my cardstock with some embossing buddy before I started, and I'm just going to press that down nice and firmly. And I've got my mixtured embossing powder, which I created by accident once. I'm just going to coat my greeting. Okay, now I've got a bit of an extra bit of embossing powder there because it is very warm today, and everything I touch is sticking to me. Did I mention that it's very warm today? I know, I keep going on about it, I know. And I know if you live in certain parts of the world where warm weather in the summer or hot weather in the summer is the norm, you're probably wondering what the heck I am moaning about. But we're not used to it here. And we don't normally have things like air conditioning in houses and things like that. So when the weather gets warm, we do suffer a bit. Check my work surface. Got my embossing tool, holding on to my bit of card with a tweezers because that's going to get warm. I'm going to turn this on and turn down the sound while I heat emboss this bit of card. Now I'm going to trim around the wording quite near to my embossing, just leaving a little tiny edge around the outside. Right, let me bring back my card and mini dimensionals. And there we are, and that is the first Christmas card that I have made for 2019. And there it is, that is my finished Christmas card. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if so, I would love it if you came back and saw me again sometime soon. Don't forget to click that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel. Why not? Be a devil. But for now, once again, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye bye.